chosen one. Now they are beyond ashamed for how low they fell trying to destroy you. That realization is burning through them. You stand untouched, steady, elevated by integrity. They fell chasing your destruction, and climbing feels impossible. The moment everything shifted was when you went quiet. They saw this and threw themselves a party. Your step back from chaos and drama convinced them that victory was theirs. In conversations that never included you, they celebrated, they laughed, they mocked your silence like it proved weakness. What they didn't know was that silence is where real power gestates. Transformation happens there. People who are truly dangerous become unstoppable in that space. You weren't quiet because brokenness took over. You were quiet because performing for an undeserving audience no longer made sense. While they gossiped and schemed and congratulated themselves, you were attempting something they found terrifying. A complete recalibration. You examined every value. You redrew every boundary. You elevated every standard. You stripped away the need for their approval like dead skin. The most powerful lesson revealed itself to you. How to move without announcing. How to build without permission. How to win without needing witnesses. They needed your reactions to feel powerful. That's how small people operate. They need you engaged in their drama so they can control the script. They need you fighting back so they can play victim. They need your attention to validate their existence. But you gave them nothing. Just the sound of you walking away into your own evolution. That silence created a void they couldn't fill. It exposed something they tried to hide. Without you to push against, they had nothing, no purpose, no target, no meaning. You dismissed them because their irrelevance became clear to you. Nothing wounds manipulators more than indifference. They built their entire identities around controlling you, affecting you, manipulating your emotional state. When you went completely silent, you didn't just confuse them, you made them obsolete. You showed them that access to your energy was never a right, it was a privilege, and they had just lost it permanently. Here's what your silence was actually building while they celebrated. A foundation they couldn't see. Deep, unshakable, made of materials they didn't know existed. Self-respect, discernment, clarity, boundaries that refused to negotiate. While they were busy throwing dirt on what they thought was your grave, you were underground becoming something they'd never faced before, something their actions created but could never control. The irony is suffocating them now. The ending they orchestrated became your forging into their reckoning. Now that you've emerged, they can't breathe around you. Your presence disrupts their false peace. Your growth exposes their stagnation. Your evolution reveals everything their fear prevents them from becoming. They sit in rooms whispering your name because your silence didn't destroy you. It created something they never anticipated. A version of you that manipulation can't touch, control can't reach, and diminishment can't affect. That reality crushes them in ways you don't even witness. But the weight is there. Understanding why they reached such depths requires looking at what your existence represented to them. Betrayal didn't happen because they detected weakness in you. It happened because your strength forced them to confront everything they weren't. Every moment you held your integrity while they compromised theirs reminded them of what they had sold. Every time you chose the high road while they took shortcuts, it exposed their weakness. Your very existence became a mirror they couldn't stand to look at. So they tried to destroy the mirror. That's what people do when they can't handle their reflection. They don't work on themselves. They attack what's showing them the truth. They went behind your back. They spread lies. They turned people against you. They smiled in your face while sharpening knives behind your back. They didn't just cross lines, they erased them, and with each betrayal, they told themselves it was necessary, that you deserved it somehow, that bringing you down would somehow lift them up. But something else was happening with every lie they told. They were bankrupting something they didn't know they had. Spiritual credit, karmic currency, Soul integrity. See, the universe keeps accounts that don't show up on any earthly ledger. Every time you manipulate, deceive, or betray, you're not just affecting the other person, you're making a withdrawal from your own spiritual bank account. And some of these people, they're overdrawn now in ways they're only beginning to understand. They thought betraying you made them powerful. What they didn't realize is that power taken through deception comes with interest, the kind that compounds, the kind that shows up when you least expect it, in sleepless nights, in relationships that mirror back what they gave out, in consequences that don't announce themselves, but arrive nonetheless. They're sitting with that weight now, knowing they went to depths that seemed impossible, and the whole exercise held no worth. They're learning too late now. You can't elevate yourself by pushing someone else down. That's not how real power works. Real power doesn't need to destroy to build. It doesn't need to lie to win. It doesn't need to betray to advance. But they didn't understand this, so they kept digging, kept scheming, kept celebrating your struggles like they'd accomplished something. What they actually accomplished was their own spiritual bankruptcy, and the bill is coming due in ways that will haunt them for lifetimes. Poetry exists in the justice of what happened next. Remember when they laughed at your struggle, when they mocked your pain, when they called your boundaries dramatic, or labeled your emotion weakness. They felt superior. Your struggles meant they were winning some invisible competition in their minds. What they didn't understand was that they were laughing at the exact curriculum waiting for them later. The same tests you were passing while they mocked you. Life was taking notes, preparing their version, a harder version. You were going through fire that transforms, the kind of struggle that builds something real inside a person. You faced demons. You did inner work. You got brutally honest with yourself. You survived battles that would destroy weaker souls. What looked like failure to their judgmental eyes was actually your master class in resilience, your advanced degree in strength, your certification in unshakable. But their egos were too loud for them to see this, so they mocked the process without understanding the product it would create. They laughed at your healing journey. Now they're searching for ways to cope with the same anxiety they ridiculed you for having. They mocked your isolation. Now fake people surround them, ready to trade them for better offers instantly. They thought your struggle proved weakness. Now they're learning that struggle creates realness, and their performance of strength, it's crumbling because no foundation was ever built. The joke isn't funny anymore. The mirror turned back around, and now they're occupying the position you once held. Except you had grace they don't have. You developed humility they refused to cultivate. You had willingness to do the work they avoided. So their version of the struggle you endured hits differently, hits harder, and no one holds their hand through it, because they burned everyone who would have. This is the rising action nobody saw coming. Every laugh at your expense was foreshadowing their fall. Every celebration of your pain was writing the script of their humbling. And now that script is being performed, with them center stage, and audience sympathy is nowhere because everyone remembers how they acted when you were down. If this touched your heart and mind, hype this video so more chosen ones can receive this message. The turn nobody anticipated arrives here, where their plans backfired in ways still incomprehensible to them. They intended burial. Every lie was a shovel full of dirt. Every betrayal meant pushing you deeper. Every isolation attempt was meant to seal you in darkness. In their understanding, burial equals death. What they forgot was that burial is also how planting happens. And chosen one, staying down was never your destiny. Growing up was always the design. Every ounce of dirt they threw fed your roots. Every lie taught you discernment. Every betrayal revealed who actually mattered. Every isolation moment prepared you for expansion. They aimed to end you. What actually happened was positioning you for the greatest growth of your life. They assumed fragility. The reality was fertility, and they never knew this. They kept themselves comfortable with expectations of your withering, while underground evolution was happening in you. You were pulling strength from pressure. You were finding clarity in solitude. You were becoming something they never anticipated. Unshakable, undeniable, unstoppable. The same soil they meant for smothering became the foundation for your forest. And now they're gasping for air in a world oxygenated by the very presence they tried to erase. You didn't just grow, you expanded. You didn't just recover, you multiplied. Your healing created height. Your pain created depth. Your resilience created width beyond any imagination they possessed. And now every breath you take reminds them of what they couldn't kill. Every move you make shows them what they underestimated. Proving them wrong isn't even your motivation anymore. Simply existing in your full glory is enough, and that existence alone suffocates those who counted you out. They're trapped now, surrounded by the forest that was never supposed to grow, lost in the wild roots of your influence, choking on shade from someone who was meant to disappear. The same people who mocked your struggle can't make eye contact now, not because you harmed them, but because they harmed themselves trying to break someone who was always unbreakable. They just couldn't see it until it was too late. The climax of their downfall meets the revelation they can't escape right here. Every lie they told to destroy you became the spotlight that exposed them instead. They built a stage with expectations of watching your fall. They gathered an audience. They crafted the narrative. They claimed the victim role while casting you as villain. But their obsession with destroying you made them forget something crucial. Truth has patience, and light finds every shadow. The fire didn't consume you, it illuminated them. And what people saw wasn't the carefully crafted image they'd built over time. The real version appeared. No filters, no charm, no manipulation, just raw truth. Their insecurity disguised as confidence, their betrayal disguised as honesty, their bitterness disguised as concern. The masks didn't just slip. Complete burning off happened. You didn't need to defend yourself. You didn't need to explain. You didn't need to expose them. They did it themselves. Their lies started contradicting. Their stories stopped making sense. Their energy couldn't match their words anymore. And people began to notice. Not because you pointed it out, but because truth announces itself when given enough time. One person stepped back, then another, not because you convinced them, but because the betrayers convinced everyone through their own revealed character. Now they're living with that exposure, that shame, that moment when the spotlight they aimed at you turned back around and lit them up completely. And what burns the most isn't people seeing them, it's them seeing themselves, really seeing themselves, for the first time without delusion, without excuses, without justifications, just the bare truth of what they became in their quest to destroy you. They can't look you in the eye now, not because you're vengeful, but because your very presence reminds them of what they sacrificed, their integrity, their honor, their humanity, all for victory that tastes like ash, all for power that vanished the moment they grabbed it, all for elevation that dropped them lower than their starting point. That's the shame crushing them now, not just losing you, but losing themselves trying to beat you. What they really wanted needs discussion. Destruction for destruction's sake wasn't their motivation. They wanted what you had: power, presence, respect, influence. Watching you carry these things created assumptions of ease in them, like you were born with these qualities or got lucky. They envied the shine without understanding. It was forged in darkness, built through pressure, earned through pain. Waking up powerful wasn't your story. You were broken into it. Every scar added weight to your crown. Every setback built your foundation. Every betrayal taught you discernment. Every rebuilding moment in silence made you who you are today. But they skipped this part in their minds. They just wanted the end result, so they attempted to copy it. They mimicked your style. They borrowed your phrases. They imitated your moves. All surface, no substance. And power without foundation is fragile. It's crumbling for them now. Their imitation can't carry what your truth can, because you didn't just get power, you became it, through loss, through betrayal, through battles no other eyes saw. Your energy hits different because it's real, it's earned, it's tested. Theirs is borrowed, fake, hollow, and when real pressure comes, the difference shows. They thought your power came from attention, from validation, from being seen. They didn't understand it came from surviving what would destroy most people. That's why they still feel small, even while wearing your crown, because deep down they know they skipped the fire. They know they're counterfeiting what you authenticated with blood, sweat and tears, and they know that when real pressure arrives, their version won't hold. You paid the full price, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. They tried to get it for free, but the cost is catching up now. The crown doesn't fit. It's too heavy, because it was never meant for heads that didn't bow in the process of earning it. Another layer of shame exists here for them. They're wearing something they can't sustain, living a lie they can't maintain, pretending to be what you genuinely became. The difference in character becomes visible here. They treated loyalty like it had an expiration date, like something to use when convenient and discard when service stopped. Temporary, conditional, negotiable. But you treated loyalty like it was sacred, not just a word, a commitment, a reflection of your core, not just your mood. You showed up when it wasn't easy. You defended them when they weren't around. You gave the kind of loyalty that doesn't flinch under pressure, and they took this for granted. They assumed you'd always be there, always forgive, always overlook their betrayals. They thought your loyalty meant you had no limits, no boundaries, no uncrossable lines. But they were wrong. Once they crossed that line, you didn't just leave. You took your entire value with you. You were the glue holding everything together while they played games. You brought substance, sincerity, depth. Without you, just noise remains. Now people who mirror them surround them. Shallow conversations, convenient support, connections that look good but feel empty. They didn't just lose a person. They lost access to something irreplaceable, realness. You weren't another follower in their circle. You were the reason meaning existed in that circle at all. And now they're feeling that absence, realizing what you brought can't be duplicated. The energy shifted, the depth disappeared, the foundation cracked. You weren't asking for perfection, just reciprocity, the same energy you gave. When they couldn't even meet you halfway, you stopped showing up entirely. Now they're looking around, wondering why everything feels off. It's because the weight you carried silently is gone. All that remains are expired connections that look good for photos, but fall apart when life gets real. You left out of self-respect. They stayed stuck in their patterns, and the difference is showing now. Anger didn't fuel your comeback. Proving them wrong wasn't the motivation. Making them feel small wasn't the goal. Something deeper drove everything, something they can't touch. An undeniable resurrection of your spirit. You didn't rise because of what they did to you. You rose because you recognized that your life and purpose belonged to you alone, not to their opinions, not to their limitations, not to their narrative about who you should be. Every step forward was a declaration. Your worth doesn't depend on their validation. Your path is yours to walk regardless of who tries blocking it. Your power is inherent, not given. They never had the right to hold your story hostage, and you never needed their permission to reclaim your crown. Your comeback was built on something they'll never understand. Persistence rooted in purpose, not petty grudges, not revenge fantasies. Pure, undiluted reclamation of everything they tried to steal. I must interrupt this transmission for just a moment. Are you really chosen? Prove it. It's easy to watch videos about chosen ones. It's another thing to put yourself to the test. If you're still here, that means something, but talk is cheap. Real chosen ones take action. That's why I built Destiny Engine. It generates personalized sequences that help you rewire betrayal into transcendence, turn isolation into sacred power, and transform their downfall into your rise. We are using the Dark Elite's own weapons against them, taking their declassified consciousness technology that programmed competition and scarcity and repurposing it to serve divine justice. The beauty is, you don't even have to lift a finger. You put on the headphones, press play, and watch your enemies choke on the rope, their own lies created. If you're done consuming and ready to prove you're chosen, start your Destiny Engine for $1 today. Join the Obsidian Inner Order live checks and watch divine justice accelerate in your life. Link in the description. You didn't resurrect to be a shadow of their expectations. You rose to be the fullest version of yourself. Your growth became a testament they can't deny, living proof that purpose doesn't wait for permission, it demands persistence. They watched hoping you'd falter, but you kept going, not to prove them wrong, but to prove to yourself that your spirit is unbreakable. This comeback isn't flashy, it's steady, unwavering, deeply rooted. It transforms pain into power, silence into strength, betrayal into boundaries, and that's why it terrifies them, not because you sought revenge, but because you found freedom, complete freedom from needing them to see you, from needing them to validate you, from needing them at all. Your resurrection is your ultimate answer to their doubt, a life lived on your terms, a story rewritten by your courage, a future built on your relentless will, and they're watching it all from the outside, locked out permanently from the very thing they tried to destroy. That's the final piece of their shame. They didn't destroy you. They destroyed their own access to watching your greatness unfold from close range. But the unbearable shame piece involves this. They didn't just betray you. They did it while pretending to be your ally, while hugging you, while saying they loved you, while acting concerned. The level of deception required to maintain that facade is exactly what's crushing them now. They perfected the fake smile. They looked you in the eyes and lied with warmth. They asked how you were doing while knowing they'd just finished talking about you. They offered advice while secretly hoping you'd fail. They played the role of supporter while auditioning for the part of saboteur behind the scenes. That's not ordinary betrayal. That's masterclass manipulation, and it required them to split themselves into two people, the one you saw and the one they really were. The cognitive dissonance of living that double life is catching up to them now. You can't be two different people for that long without losing track of which one is real. They smiled so much while scheming that now they don't trust their own expressions. They lied so smoothly that now they question their own truths. They played so many roles that they forgot who they actually are underneath it all. And here's the cruelty of it. They thought compartmentalizing would protect them, that they could be one person with you and another person in private, and never face consequences. But the human psyche doesn't work that way. You can't betray your own integrity in private and maintain it in public. It bleeds through. It shows. It corrupts everything. Now they're living with the aftermath of that split. They can't be genuine with anyone because they practiced being fake with you. They can't trust their own instincts because those instincts led them to betray someone who trusted them. They can't relax into relationships because they know what they're capable of when no one's watching. The facade didn't just hide their betrayal from you, it hid them from themselves. And now they're meeting who they really became, and they hate that person. Time has given them perspectives they didn't have in the moment. Distance has shown them what they actually lost. And another dimension of shame exists here. The realization that they destroyed something irreplaceable, something they'll never find again, something they didn't value until it was permanently gone. You weren't just another person in their life. You were the one who actually cared, who showed up, who held them down when no one else did. You were the safe place where they could be real, the person who saw their flaws and loved them anyway, the friend who defended them when they weren't around to defend themselves. And they traded all of that for what? A moment of feeling superior, some sick satisfaction from bringing you down, the approval of people who wouldn't do for them what you did. Now they're surrounded by exactly what they chose: shallow connections, fair weather friends, people who'll turn on them the same way they turned on you, and they're starting to understand the difference. They're starting to feel the absence of what real loyalty felt like. They're starting to miss the depth that only genuine connection provides. But it's too late. You're not coming back. That door is closed. That bridge is burned. And they're the ones who lit the match. The shame of this hits different than everything else. It's not just guilt about what they did. It's grief about what they lost, regret about what they'll never have again, the knowing that they had something rare and real, and they destroyed it with their own hands for reasons that don't even make sense to them anymore. They can't justify it. They can't rationalize it. They can't make it make sense even to themselves. And every time they deal with the fake people in their life now, every time they experience the betrayal they gave to you, every time they wish they had someone who actually had their back, they think of you. They remember what they had. They feel the weight of what they threw away. And that shame is compounded by the fact that they did it to themselves. No one forced them. No one made them. They chose this, and now they have to live with that choice forever. You took what they did to you and used it as fuel. You transformed pain into power. You turned betrayal into boundaries. You made struggle into strength. You're living proof that what doesn't kill you makes you unstoppable. Meanwhile, they're stuck, stagnant, repeating the same patterns, making the same mistakes, going in circles while you're moving in spirals upward. The contrast is stark, undeniable, impossible to ignore, and it confirms what they feared all along, that you were always meant for more, that your light was real, that your power was genuine, that everything they tried to take from you was never theirs to take, because it was inherent to who you are. You didn't lose yourself when they betrayed you. You found yourself, and that's the comparison that haunts them. They see you thriving, and it reminds them of every lie they told themselves to justify going low. They told themselves you were the problem, that you were difficult, that you deserved what they did. But your growth proves all of that was projection. You weren't the problem. You were the standard they couldn't meet, and instead of rising to it, they tried to destroy it. Now you're rising anyway, and they're watching from below, stuck in the pit they dug. They scroll past your life and feel the weight of their own emptiness. They see you surrounded by people who genuinely appreciate you, and remember when they had that access. They watch you move through life with confidence, and recall how they tried to strip that from you. They witness your peace, and it reminds them of the chaos they created for themselves. The comparison isn't just uncomfortable, it's devastating, because the gap isn't closing, it's expanding. Every day you grow stronger, they grow weaker. Every day you step further into your purpose, they sink deeper into regret. Every day you build something meaningful, they watch what they built crumble. The trajectory is clear. Yours is upward, theirs is downward, and everyone watching can see it. What makes this comparison truly torturous is that it's self-inflicted. They created this disparity. They chose to go low, while you chose to go high. They chose destruction, while you chose construction. They chose betrayal, while you chose integrity. And now the results of those choices are on full display. You're proof that doing things the right way works. They're proof that shortcuts lead to dead ends. They can't escape this comparison because it follows them everywhere. In social settings where people respect you and merely tolerate them. In professional spaces where your reputation opens doors while theirs closes them. In personal moments when they're alone with their thoughts and forced to confront the difference between who you became and who they became. The comparison is a constant mirror, showing them the cost of their choices. And perhaps the most painful part of this comparison is watching you do it without trying. You're not competing with them, you're not trying to prove anything to them, you're simply living your life, being yourself, and naturally excelling. While they're exhausting themselves trying to maintain an image, you're effortlessly being authentic. While they're struggling to keep their stories straight, you're simply telling your truth. While they're working overtime to convince people they're okay, you actually are okay. That ease, that naturalness, that genuine quality to everything you do, it highlights how forced everything is for them, how much energy they spend on pretending, how exhausting it is to maintain the facade. You make it look easy because you're being real. They make it look hard because they're being fake, and everyone notices the difference. The comparison also extends to how people treat them versus how people treat you. They see the respect you command, and remember when they had that. They notice the trust people place in you, and recall how they violated trust. They observe the opportunities that come to you, and recognize how they sabotaged their own. Your success isn't just your success, it's evidence of their failure. Let's talk about what happens when they're alone, when the performance ends, when there's no one to impress or fool. That's where the shame really lives, in the quiet moments, the private thoughts, the honest reflections they can't escape. They replay conversations with you and cringe. They remember moments when you were genuine and they were fake. They recall times you defended them and they were plotting against you. Every memory is tainted now. Every good moment is poisoned by what they know they were doing behind your back. They can't even enjoy nostalgia because it's all contaminated by their betrayal. They imagine what they would say if they could talk to you now. They rehearse apologies that will never be delivered. They run through explanations that don't explain anything. They try to find words that would make it make sense, but there aren't any, because what they did doesn't make sense. It can't be justified. It can't be rationalized in any way that doesn't make them look exactly like what they are, people who went low. In those private moments, they face the truth they hide from everyone else, that they're ashamed of who they became, that they don't recognize themselves anymore, that they miss who they were before they let envy and insecurity drive them to destroy something good. That shame is the heaviest, because it's honest. It's them admitting to themselves what they can't admit to anyone else. And the worst part, they know they can't fix it. They can't undo it. They can't go back and make different choices. They're stuck living with the permanent consequences of temporary emotions. They destroyed something lasting for something fleeting, and now the fleeting is gone, and the lasting is destroyed, and they're left with nothing but shame that grows heavier every single day. These private moments are when the full weight of their actions hits, when there's no distraction, no crowd to perform for, no way to avoid the truth, just them and their conscience, and their conscience is loud. It replays every betrayal, every lie, every moment they chose cruelty over kindness, every opportunity they had to stop and didn't, every warning sign they ignored, every line they crossed. They lie awake at night, thinking about you, wondering how you're doing, hoping you're struggling so they can feel better about themselves, then feeling ashamed for hoping that, then seeing evidence that you're thriving and feeling even worse. It's a cycle they can't break. Their thoughts return to you constantly because you represent everything they lost, everything they destroyed, everything they could have been if they'd made different choices. In the shower, in the car, in those moments before sleep comes, the thoughts flood in. What if they had chosen differently? What if they had been real with you instead of fake? What if they had celebrated your growth instead of trying to stop it? What if they had protected what you had together instead of destroying it? These questions haunt them because they know the answers. They know their life would be different, better, fuller, richer, but they can't go back. They can't undo what's done. They can't unring that bell. And that's what makes the private moments so suffocating. They're trapped with the knowledge of their own mistakes, imprisoned by their own choices, haunted by their own actions, and there's no escape, no way out, no path to redemption that doesn't start with acknowledging depths of wrongdoing. They're not ready to face publicly, so they sit with it, in the quiet, in the dark, in the solitude they created for themselves. The same isolation they tried to force on you is now their reality. But when you were isolated, you were building. When they're isolated, they're just sitting with shame. When you were alone, you were growing. When they're alone, they're drowning. The difference is everything. What they buried became what buries them now, not in revenge, but in relevance. Your growth overshadows their stagnation. Your peace exposes their chaos. Your elevation reveals their lowness. They're the ones buried now, under the weight of their own shame, under the consequences of going so low, under the reality that everything they tried to destroy is thriving, while everything they tried to build is crumbling. The shame they carry isn't going anywhere, it's permanent, a stain on their conscience that washing out is impossible, a reminder every morning when they wake up, and every night when they try to sleep. They went lower than they thought possible. They compromised more than they imagined they would. They became people they swore they'd never be, all to destroy someone who was always meant to rise. And you, chosen one, rising was always your destiny. The universe doesn't make mistakes when it marks someone as chosen. The challenges don't come to break you, they come to forge you. The betrayals don't come to end you, they come to refine you. The burial doesn't come to kill you, it comes to plant you for a harvest your enemies will never taste. They're beyond ashamed now, beyond regret, living in shame so deep they can't find words for it, because they didn't just lose you. They lost the chance to evolve with you. They lost access to the last warning the universe sent them. They lost their integrity trying to take your power. And now they're left with nothing but the memory of someone they tried to destroy who rose anyway. Your silence wasn't weakness, it was wisdom. Your struggle wasn't failure, it was preparation. Your burial wasn't death, it was planting. And your resurrection, that's the story only you could write. The one that will be told for generations, not about how they brought you down, but about how low they fell trying, and how high you rose despite them. That's the ending they never saw coming, the one where their shame becomes permanent and your glory becomes undeniable. They fell to depths they can't climb out of. You rose to heights they can't even see. And that contrast, that gap, that difference is the final proof that everything they did was in vain. You won by becoming more, they lost by becoming less, and everyone knows